point is try to redirect it to where it can be spent during the year.
And I mean, what I would love to hear at a sitting of a committee like this, or the minister announcing, is that we have now started the implementation of the capacity building. I think that is urgently needed. It ought to be on the top of the agenda of the Ministry of Finance to get this done in the next financial year.
It is on our agenda, sir.
All right, thank you. Madam Pierce, good morning.
Morning, Chair.
Welcome to sitting of the PAAC. Let me welcome yourself and your team, your large team. Mr. Hunter, why you smile, eh? Your large team from the Ministry of Economic Growth. Yeah, boy. I didn't expect this turnout, but we'll be quick. It's just we are looking at the fourth supplementary expenditure budget, and there are some noted areas within the ministry that you are PS for, economic growth. I would like you to introduce yourself and your team, any opening remarks, and then we can then go to the matters.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, members. Morning, everyone, students, all. All right, so this morning, I'm accompanied by members from the Central Ministry, Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, as well as the heads of some agencies. Select agencies here today are the National Road Operating and Constructing Company, the National Water Commission, National Works Agency, the Real Estate Board, the Urban Development Corporation, and the Water Resources Authority. So we welcome this opportunity to provide answers to any questions that you have today.
All right. Just on a couple issues. On page 19,003 of the fourth supplementary estimates, bridge development and construction. I got very excited when the budget was tabled last year and saw an increase from 70 million, which is what is the standard figure in any budget that I've seen for bridge construction and maintenance. Seeing that increase from 70 million to $1.3 billion. And then my heart leaped when I saw in the fourth supplementary estimates that 1.290 of that 1.3 billion is now sent back to the Ministry of Finance. I know that there has been the conversation of maintenance of bridges right across the country, construction. Can we say why it is only that basically the addition that was attributed to bridge development and construction? What are the issues for this 1.2 billion to be returned?
Thanks for your question, Chair. I was hoping that you would have seen the 20 million that is allocated for Troy.
I certainly saw that.
Yes.
It still has not made my heart smile as yet.
Okay, so I'm going to turn over to Mr. Hunter for an explanation to be provided.
Sure. Hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
Good morning. Morning, Chairman, members. First, let me take this opportunity to wish for you and your members all the very best for the new year We're a month into the new year, but the first time we're sharing company. The initial provision in the budget, Chairman, as you indicated, for bridge development, of the $1.3 billion, approximately, $70 million of that was the standard provision for maintenance of bridges, and the remainder was was actually on the capital side. And as we have all now come to understand and accept the process by which the capital provision in the budget is spent is dictated largely by the need to satisfy the requirements of the public investment, the PIAB protocol. So we have been studiously fulfilling the requirements of that protocol. The very first bridge that we got through the PIAB system, as the PS indicated, was the Troy Bridge. And although construction has not yet started, I'd like to inform you that we did go to tender, because the process, once the PIAB system has been successfully gone through, the next step in the process is the procurement. And we have gone to procurement for the Troy Bridge. The tenders were returned last week. We're now in the process of analyzing those tenders, and it is our plan. It is our plan to submit that recommendation for contract award to the Public Procurement Commission in another week and a half, 2 weeks' time, and then on to Cabinet. So hopefully, very early in the new financial year, we should have the contract awarded. And so that's Strawbridge. We're following the same protocol for the Craig Mill Bridge in Portland. That submission should be made shortly. And the other bridge of importance to us is the Spring Village Bridge, which we did go to tender for that one as well. The returns, it's due mid-February, I think the 13th of February.
How wicked that boy, you know?
Member Siblings, can you mute your mic, please?
Okay,
My
so,
apology, Chair.
yeah, so still have an audience. So yes, Chairman, although your heart didn't exactly sing when the provision was rescheduled, I hope that the fact that, as I indicated, Charity Begins at Home, your Troy Bridge, is well on its way to being implemented. Craig Mill Bridge is second in line, and the Spring Village Bridge is third in line. Those three contracts should be in place very early in the new financial year.
Well, Mr. Hunter,
Yes, sir.
you see, one of the issues, and before you came in, we were having a conversation with the Financial Secretary. And when we look at just the budget itself and the economy itself, from where I sit, there are areas that also need resources, critical resources. Now, when you put $1.2 billion or $1.3 billion budgeted in an area, from day one, we knew that the procurement process would take up to over one financial year. Yeah? So the issue that I have, one is a time frame for procurement. Time frame because This was put in the budget at the beginning of the financial year, not in a supplementary budget. We are at the end of the financial year, and you basically just put out to tender, some of them, and some you're just getting back the tender process. After receiving that tender process again, it's going to at least take another couple of months, even for the contractor to be mobilized and to go on the ground, right? One issue is the period, the length of time that it takes in dealing with the procurement. Because in the capital expenditure here, I'm seeing $20 million to the Troy Bridge. And I'm going to ask the question, what was that $20 million spent on? Because in the first instance, what I recognize whenever it is that the NWA is going to put or prepare a document for the PIB, yeah, that the first thing is that you have to put out a tender for a consultant first, yeah, and then is it that consultant then now have to prepare? So there's a whole heap of expenditure taking place before even the people of Northwest Manchester or Southern Trelawney or Trelawney and Manchester see any movement in that bridge. So, Madam PS, yes, I mean, I've been here long enough to know don't get excited until you see workmen on the ground, because I've seen projects stall even after tender process. Eh? If you want to use that road out in Spanish Town that is being done now, that after 3 financial years, yeah, man, you have it here, here in the Grange Lane one I'm talking about. That has come in this budget year after year for a while now. I know it has started, but I'm just saying, one, why does a process like that have to take a year when we have, even though it has to go to PIB, I know you have to decide if it is one that is worthwhile. Even the Minister of Health himself complained in here at one sitting of just how long the process itself take. And then when you see the figure in the budget, having to see it come back without any work started, then it doesn't leave us comfortable that we actually know what we're doing, why it is that we have to be taking back the whole amount that was then put in the budget for bridge construction and maintenance.
I don't know if an answer is required for your expression of your concern, Chairman, but we as implementers, we're also concerned. But the truth of the matter is the procurement protocol that the agencies of government abide by are gifted to us by legislation which originates here in Parliament.
Is your agency one of those that have a capacity issue?
Again, capacity issue goes 2 ways, Chairman. Government does not implement projects. A project
I'm talking about preparing for the PIB.
Coming to that. Government, the role and function of government and the role and function of the private sector. It is the private sector that actually does the construction. You mentioned Grange Lane, for example. The facts are that Grange Lane was tendered, a contract was awarded to a private sector contractor, and that contractor had difficulty obtaining the bond. So that fault cannot be placed at the feet of the government or government entity. So,
let's stick to the bridge thing now,
right.
The procurement.
Okay. So,
No. I was talking about my excitement because because I said I don't get excited until I see workmen on the ground, and Grange Lane is one of those projects. No, we understand the issue with Grange Lane.
okay, so to answer your question specifically, the PIB protocol chairman has been designed with the objective of having a more streamlined, effective, and efficient process in project preparation. And I don't think there can be any argument as to the need for such a protocol. The truth is that that protocol came into being in the last 2 years or so, and understandably, entities of government will have some learning to do so as to be able to utilize that protocol and exploit its efficiencies in the best way possible. As it now stands, we at the NAA, we rely to a large extent on consultants to assist in the preparation of the required documentation to go to the PIAB. We have gone through the process with the Troy Bridge, as indicated. Took us a little while, yes. We are much further along the learning curve now, and so it is our expectation that the other bridges on the program will go at a faster rate. Our private sector partners who work with us in preparing these documents are a lot more experienced and knowledgeable in what is required. So I think it is, government generally has a multiplicity of objectives, one of which is to do the project quickly, but another objective of government is to do the project efficiently. So I think we are at a good place now in terms of where we are utilizing the PIAB protocol. And I can assure you, Chairman, that failing any national disaster, your bridge proposal will move from the tender stage to implementation within a couple months.
As I suspected. Yeah.
In a couple months.
So it would take at least 3 years before residents to the bridge. And don't get me wrong, Mr. Hunter. The issue is not with you. Yeah? It is with the process in that something, a bridge that collapsed a year and a half ago, takes another year and a half to 2 years before we see any results. And that's the issue that I'm speaking about, especially when it deals with infrastructure. All right? And when I spoke about the capacity issue, meant because it has been said that there are capacity issues within the MDAs in dealing with preparing the documentations to be sent to the PIB for a smoother, so that there's not that back and forth. Hence why I asked you the question of the employment or tendering for consultants and the capacity issue in getting the efficient streamline of the documents for PIB that may shorten the length of time, because there might be this back and forth asking for updates and things like that. So that's why I asked if there was a capacity issue within the NAA in preparing these documentation. What's the cost for like one of these consultants?
On average, $8 million. And again, Chairman, let me just try to explain something. The use of consultants does not imply in of itself that an entity has less than optimum capacity. But what it is, a consultant can concentrate on a single undertaking. While in an entity, your general staff will be involved and engaged in several different activities. So it's a question of allocating work and allocating risk. If we were to use incumbent staff to do this, then they would not be doing their quarterly patching, they would not be doing their regular work. So buying consultancy services is a good way to supplement in-house capability in the delivery of the entire portfolio of a ministry or an agency.
Was this always the situation? I mean, certainly
in my life and time, that has always been the situation. Okay. consultants are engaged to do specialist undertaking. Because a consultant can stay on one thing and one thing only,
No,
whereas the rest of us have to do
and
many
why
different
I
things.
highlighted it is because I'm seeing more. I mean, I generally look at the procurement when it is published in the papers. I see more and more procurement for consultants for the NWA than I would normally see. Hence why I raised the issue, right? And to my knowledge, that many of these are to assist with, because I'm not sure if it is a requirement of the PIB. It isn't. I see the FS shaking her head no, but I wanted to know what were the reasons behind the procurement for these consultants. I mean, you have somewhat answered it, so it's not an issue. All right.
Okay.
Would you? Sure.
Thank you, Chair. I must say, and even in solidarity with my colleague here, yes, Chairman, thank you. I'm very happy for the people of Northwest Manchester and the people of South Trelawney who will be having their bridge. And certainly you have been lobbying for this for some time now. And I have to make the point that the lives of our constituents hang in the balance, right? So it behoves us to ensure that while we bat for efficiency, right, we must ensure that our people are served in a timely manner, because integral systems certainly are efficient systems. So we hope, PS, that while we put the different systems in place to manage the processes, these systems will not be cumbersome. We will not have constituents waiting for an inordinate amount of time before they get their roads, etc. So while I celebrate with my colleague, I want to use, congratulations, Chairman, on your new bridge. Right, so while I celebrate that, very commendable, as a member of parliament for a rural constituency, I have to bat for my own people. So I want PS to make a note of northeastern St. Catherine, Lucky Valley, and O'Mealy. For decades, they have been lobbying for a bridge, but I suspect that what it will cost would consume the entire budget. So we are looking at an alternative route through O'Mealy, Morrisall. Please make a note of that, and also Gubay. These are small communities, but we run the risk of cutting off people. So I want to be able to celebrate with Chairman here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Through you to NWA. Mr. Hunter, the only thing that I will add to the bridge for Troy is the length of time. And somehow, Chairman, we here as legislators must find a way to cut the time from when it is procured to the time when it actually is completed. That is something that, because when you look at 3 years from now, it's a way ahead. It's a generation to speak of. But in truth, we are here on a national issue, and also, Mr. Hunter, there's a bridge that borders Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, right at where it is well-known border. You know, they have the fry fish and bami. That bridge has been lagging for quite some time. And I noticed that the NWA team had gone there and they had done just to put up some notification to say that, oh, there's damage to the bridge. And it has been left there. If you go there now, that section that you're driving on is getting even worse. So before we have an accident, can we look into that one too, please?
Yes. So, Mr. Hunter, you have it there, and thank you, colleagues, for celebrating with us.
Take a note of that.
No, and I said celebrating with us because it is the residents who would use it even more than I do. And it is for their safety. And the length of time that has taken, I mean, there has been erosion of the banking. And Mr. Hunter, I've been chastised by constituents on both sides because they put up a temporary footbridge, which they expected me to put up. I mean, they cut down some trees and they did something there which is also putting their own lives at danger. But they're desperate. Yeah? So, you know, I mean, this is good news for them, but I hope that it doesn't take another, at least in the last quarter of this month, of this financial year, or this year, calendar year, that we even starting it, but before. All right? Just lastly, Mr. Hunter, you have come here, well, in the presentation that has been made in Parliament when this budget was laid, spoke about the repairs of some of these bridges. Have any of those taken place within this financial year? And if you have an idea, can you give us the list of those that have been repaired? Because I know that this amount was not only for construction of new bridges, but also for the maintenance and repair.
Okay. So, Chairman, as I indicated, of the total provision in the budget for to address bridges, only 70 million was for bridge repair. The remainder would fall on the capital side, which required that expenditure to go through the process I just described a while ago. So really your question is, of the 70 million that was earmarked for repairs, did we spend any of that sum on bridges?
Yes.
And the answer is no, because we had earmarked that that portion of the budget to be used on the Spring Village bridge, which is out to tender now, and is to return on February 13, I think.
So again, you know, Madam FS, because, I mean, as the person who shadowed that portfolio, for a long time I've been saying that $70 million is not adequate.
Agree.
Even for maintenance. And one of the issues that we have is when we don't do the routine maintenance, then we come back to the issue, we come back to the point of where the Troy Bridge is. Basically just collapse. And if we have the funding within the budget itself, just like how when I find that we reallocate resources when needed, then if it is, and I am sure that you have a long list in your office or in your engineer department for bridge maintenance, and it is beyond me that we have this amount here, be it in the capital budget, that we didn't even capitalize on it to do some of those maintenance. Because if we don't do it now, it's going to cost us more. Because the Troy Bridge itself, in your own words, going to cost 160 million or above. But if we had done some maintenance, it probably wouldn't have collapsed, and we would have had it up for a longer time and spending less. So we're always putting the cart before the horse, and then at the end of the day, we don't spend the money, and then we end up back at this juncture. It is not comforting to the citizens, nor us as parliamentarians.
Just for the record, Chairman, the Troy Bridge is 150 years old. It is
I understand
highly
that.
unlikely.
I'm just using it as an example of maintenance.
But just for the record,
yes,
it's highly unlikely that small maintenance expenditure would have extended its life.
But you get my point, Mr.
But
Hunter.
I get your general point. I tell you what, though, Chairman. So every year we are required on our engineering protocol to examine 10% of the bridges that we have. And out of that examination on an annual basis, we develop the bridge repair needs. We do sometimes undertake bridge repairs not as a subject in its own right, but as part of a road undertaking. So if we're doing significant works on a particular stretch of road, and there is a bridge along that stretch of road, we incorporate it.
Yes.
Yeah. But I take your point. 70 in the...
And let me ask, out of that 10% that you examine, approximately how many you actually get to do any maintenance work?
I can't give you that figure now. But suffice it to say, Chairman, there's no argument that a provision of 70 million for bridge repair over the years is insufficient. But I'm sure that that figure will be increased.
Thank you. Madam Pierce, I mean, just looking at the, well, I should ask the FS itself, because you spoke of the compensation of employees. And many of the figures here in each MDA right across is having to deal with compensation. Will this take care of all that would be required up to the end of the financial year?
As far as I'm aware, sir, in terms of the information that came into us, what we now have in the fourth supplementary should cover the requirements through to the end of the fiscal year.
So we shouldn't see any MDAs or departments complaining that...
Barring anyone who is not yet settled, and those are very few.
How many other
and they're actually
do you
public
have to
bodies,
settle?
sorry, they're actually public bodies.
How many more is there to be settled?
I think it's about 3 or 4 public bodies.
Public bodies?
Yes.
All right. And you expect to have those settled by?
Hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, sir.
This fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Madam Pierce, the establishment of United Nations House, can you just give us some information on what that is? And because each time a supplementary comes, we see that figure getting less and less. It started the approved estimates for 2023-24 up to the third was 113 million. We are now seeing the approved new estimate to 10.
Yes, Chair, indeed. This is one that we are working assiduously on to look to see what the issues are. And I'm being briefed on that one. I'm going to turn over now to Madam Loy for her to provide. You know, I know we are working with she will be working with the National Land Agency, the Commissioner of Land as well on this one. And this one is one that we are looking at. But before, Chair, if you would just allow me, you had mentioned the matter of compensation. And I just want to express gratitude to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service on behalf of the National Water Commission, because they have got over 1 billion in terms of retroactive payments for their employees. And I really want that to go on record that we are grateful. But the matter of UN House, because we in the ministry, we really want to look to see how we can accelerate these projects. So I'm going to ask Loy to provide a response, and she may not be able to provide a fulsome response because she's still in discussion with the Commission of Land on this matter. But this is one that we are looking keenly at.
Before you go on to, so if I ask every head of an agency in your ministry if they are happy to, they would say yes with the compensation, and that this will carry them down to the financial year?
Well, I think the heads will say that the sums that were provided to the end of the financial year are adequate. Okay. So that's what I've been advised.
We will see.
We do have some little areas that we could have had some more funds, but we are doing the best with the budget that we have. It's one time.
When you say some more funds, meaning that there's a shortfall where that you have?
Chair, we're advised. We're advised that the allocations now will take them to the end of the financial year.
Okay, we'll see. Yes. Who will be answering that item. I think you'll have to move on to.
Okay. Hi, thank you, Chairman. In relation to the UN House, UDC is supporting the National Land Agency in advancing this particular project. In terms of where we are now, the NLA has executed or initiated a procurement process for a contractor, and it's in the evaluation stage.
Can you, well, first state your name for the
Sorry.
Hansard.
Loy Malcolm, I'm the Deputy General Manager for Technical Services at UDC.
Okay. But can you just give us a background on what this United Nations House is? What is it?
I'm looking at FS, wondering if FS wants to.
Right,
okay.
so so you have not yet acquired the land. You're
No.
in the process of
so
dealing with
it is an existing facility.
Okay.
The UN House will be assembled on the premises where JCC is located.
Okay.
And there are some security arrangements to be put in place. Essentially a wall, secure wall with some other features.
All right.
And that's a procurement process that is in train currently.
Okay, thank you. Madam, FS 19,000C1, access to finance to MSMEs. Again, we're seeing another reduction in, and it's where it is now 50% of what was originally budgeted, or what came in the approved estimates 2023-24. That is now, and we speak about SMEs being the growth of the economy, but yet still funds were allotted in the budget and half coming back to the Ministry of Finance. What are the issues why we're seeing this drastic reduction?
Yes, Ministry of
Yes.
Economic Growth.
Chair, I must apologize for the absence of Mr. Wan, who would have been able to provide this response to you. But based on my initial brief, I was told that there was a low take-up of these, there was low take-up by the business persons. And so we are working to see how we can encourage more take-up. One of the things that I find, even from my own, anecdotally, is the fact that the entities have to put themselves more out there. And it's a discussion that we are having internally in terms of how can we use social media more and how can we increase our efforts at communicating so that persons can actually see how they can benefit from the various entities and what the products that they offer. I think this is one such. I commit to providing you with an update since Mr. Wan is not here.
Please, because this is not the first time we're seeing where funding for that sector, and if it is again that the information is not going out, then something is wrong. I can tell you from experience, Madam PS, as one who operated a medium-sized business, the requirement is onerous on small and medium-sized businesses. The requirement itself. I mean, I remember going to one institution, which is a government institution, and the application form was like a book. And also, what they're going to have to spend to get everything regularized in the way that it is required is they wouldn't have to come to you for a loan if it is that they could put everything in place. But if this is a recurrent decimal that we keep putting the monies there and it keeps coming back, then we need to go to the root of what is the cause of why it is. Because it's not as if there is not a requirement for funding out there. So it would be good, and we accept your proposal in giving us an update on why. But I think it is important that the ministry itself finds out why it is that year after year there's a low take-up of resources going to the MSMEs. It should be of importance. All right. Boosting the Biggie program. Can you give us? There's a $1.1 billion that is now approved for revised requirement for capitalization of this angel fund. Can you give us what this program is and if this amount will be used? Yeah, it's a reallocation.
With them.
Or there's no change. But C2. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
Mike, so that you can just update you on the Biggie program. And this is another that we are looking at. And I'm so sorry that Mr. Wan is not here. I'm told that he's on his way.
All right,
but indeed,
I understand that you want to.
No change in the budget for the project, Chairman.
Yes,
there is an internal reallocation between objects of expenditure.
Okay.
The approved budget is the same as
it's the same as 1.1.
Yes.
Yeah, but is this being expended or what? Is it? Yeah. All right. Well, we'll follow up on it on a later date. All right. I think that's it for Ministry of Economic Growth. Thank you, members. Is there anything else that you? No? Thank you very much, Madam Pierre.
thank you so much, Chair and members. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
Right at the bottom lies a layer of what was once wood and leaves and is now coal and shale. It's an ideal place for Professor Bob Spicer to study the plants that influenced the climate all that time ago.